Hello, everybody, wherever you may be from coast to coast and sea to shining and sea. Welcome back to your solar weather update here on Ham Radio Live. Let's quickly take a look at your A1A. This forecast will cover Wednesday, November 16th through Friday, November the 18th. A1A shows some hope on the west limb. That's the left side here of the sun. And you can see that many sunspot regions just exiting there on the far east limb. That's the right side around 2 o'clock. So we're going to need to get some sunspots to help get our SFI back up. Today will be a drop. Tomorrow, again, a drop. We'll take a look at things and see how the sun reacts. Again, there's those sunspot regions, 3141, 3145, and 3140. They are just about off of the sun's face towards Earth, and that's going to lower our SFIs coming up by the weekend. Here is the progression of those sunspots through the magnetosphere view. Again, taking all of the brightness away from the sun and just focusing on how the sunspots move from east to west. And you can see there that big sunspot region from 3140 to 3145 starting to disappear, leaving only 3146 on the face of the sun. Here's another concern. Coronal hole 46 is going to be earthbound here by tomorrow. Expect solar wind to increase tomorrow, thereby maybe raising the A index and possibly giving us a little more noise in the bands. We'll keep an eye on that. Last 3 days of solar flare detection. No M flares, close, but no M flares today. We almost had a couple of them yesterday as well, a 35% chance of an M flare coming up today, but we are seeing declining SFI through this. You can kind of see how on, this would be on Monday, 2 days ago, how that baseline was in the C range, right in the middle of the C range, and now how it's dropping into the B range. So expect the SFIs to lower. D-layer absorption, this will be your absorption from the D layer of the ionosphere and how it's impacting radio right now. A lot more attenuation today than we've seen over the week. You can see how much the attenuation goes all the way up to between 15 and 20 megahertz. So right about the 17 meter band has at least a dB of attenuation. Here's a good look at that. You can see 40 meters right now, attenuated by more than 5 dB during the day. If you get to the 40 meter band, right about 1 to 2 dB. So there is some significant attenuation going on right now in the D layer of our ionosphere. KP index, noise floors. This is the good news in the forecast. Quiet, I mean really quiet conditions for you, and that will last through Friday. We should have some good conditions, barring this issue here with the coronal hole map. If 46 does start to increase the solar wind towards Earth, we can expect to see noise floors start to increase. So keep an eye here on this. You can find it at solarham.net. As those go up to K3, that's unsettled. K4 would be a minor storm. We hope to keep the KP index down where it is today. In fact, take a look how low it was. Look at this, KP 0.33 at 2015 UTC. That's very low conditions. Great noise floors to work your amateur and shortwave radio today. 3-day look at the geomagnetic forecast for noise floors. Quiet, but getting a little louder here by Friday. We'll show you a little more on the forecast. Current metrics look like solar wind only at 327,000 kilometers per second. And, sorry, 327 kilometers per second. But you take a look at what it says at the top. It takes about 77 minutes from the Discover spacecraft for the solar wind to reach Earth. It's kind of an interesting little stat there. Interplanetary magnetic field, this is different than the KP index. This is right now north, 4.77. The actual BZ latitude is south today and expected to stay south. So that'll create some QSB on the bands when we have a BZ negatives for the northern hemisphere. If the magnetic field on Earth at the Van Allen radiation belts is pointed to the south and the solar radiation charges more of the southern hemisphere, we tend to have more QSB in the northern hemisphere. It's just one of the things that happen. So there is your BZ latitude. This is an earlier look at maximum usable frequencies. I snapped this because I wanted to take a look at Europe real carefully. And again, the 10-meter band is pretty high up there, really close to 45 degrees at this point. I know early in the day, just about the southern part of Norway and Sweden were also on 10. So some good conditions for you to work amateur and shortwave bands today. Here's the current Kilo Charlie 2 Golf map. Anchorage right now, about 22 megahertz. And if you go just a little farther north towards Fairbanks, you're at 16. In the continental United States, 28 if you're in the Bitterroot Range, 31 Southern California, 27 Denver, 28 Brownsville, 31 in Pensacola, 31 Great Lakes, 31 as well in Washington, D.C., 29 New England. And that, you see how that number, that's the 10-meter band, goes all the way up into Hudson Bay and out right about Vancouver Island. 10-meter band is going to be prevalent very much in Canada today, so some good DX for you to work south into South America and also into the Pacific today on the 10-meter band. Closer look at the Northern Hemisphere, maximum usable frequencies again. This is current, and you can kind of see how east to west, everything works really well. Earlier in the day, Europe has a great pipeline, not only into South America and Africa, but also into North America. Work the calls maybe about 3:30, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. If you're in Europe, you got a good pipeline into North America. Southern Hemisphere looks like this today. For the most part, it's all 30 megahertz or more, except for a little swath of 25 right around the equator coming just out of the northern part of Brazil. Southern Hemisphere looking out towards the Far East. Japan right now is at 10 megahertz. They will hit the 10-meter band today for sure. If you're in Australia, 19 megahertz around Townsville, 20 megahertz in Brisbane, 16 if you're in Sydney, Tasmania about 12, and just about the area where Perth is, you're not too far away from 20 meters, so some good conditions. And look at the North and South Islands carefully of New Zealand. 17 meters is already past the South Island. 12 meters will be coming within the hour, and the 10-meter band most likely within a couple of hours. Solar cycle 25, way ahead of schedule. Absolutely. Predicted sunspot number for this time of solar cycle 25 for this period was expected to be 54.5. The actual solar sunspot number, 95.4 for the month of October. The SFI, predicted SFI, was 94.8. The actual one is 132.8. This is going to be a great solar cycle. It's going to go up very quickly, and I expect probably around sometime mid-2024 to late 2024, it will peak, and we're going to have a very high SFI, very good numbers, and I mean some good stuff that maybe doesn't go back just a couple of sunspot cycles, but possibly 3 or 4 back to some very great sunspot cycles to work both the ham and shortwave bands. Your ham and shortwave forecast for today, powered by ICOM for the love of ham radio. SFIs to drop into the 120s today, should drop again into the 110 to 119 range by Friday. And that's, it's a pretty good, it's a reasonable forecast there, just based on the lack of sunspots coming from the the east side of the sun. And right now we need those sunspots. So 120s today, down in the 1 teens or so by Friday. Noise floors S0 to S1 today, S1 to S2 tomorrow, S2 to S3 most likely on Friday. Voice bands, north, mid, and southern hemisphere, you'll get everything. 20, 17, 15, 12 in the 10-meter band. I think 10 meters will go all the way up to about 60 degrees north today and right about 45 or 50 degrees to the south. So some amazing DX to work on amateur radio bands. CB radio skip for 11 meters will be open north, mid, and south latitudes today. Data mode, folks, like to work FT8, FT4, and the rest of the data modes should work great today. 30 to 10 meters north, mid, and south latitudes. Get some of those rare DX calls your log is lacking. You might get them today. Noise floors for amateur radio tonight, S0 to S1, then S1 to S3. Going by Friday. Nighttime, amateur radio band openings 160, 80, 60, 40, 30. Remember, your best DX, maximum usable frequency at sunset, 20 meters is outstanding at sunset, even in the northern hemisphere. Don't be afraid to work it. You'll make some good calls there, and then work your way down to 40 and 80 meters overnight. Shortwave listeners, daytime shortwave, great SFI. I mean, even if we get into the 1 teens, that's still a very productive solar flux index. So some very good conditions when you have a low noise floor. And we'll have decent noise floors through Friday. Shortwave bands daytime, I'm going to add the 41-meter band into this. I know it doesn't say that, but I believe 41 will be a good daytime DX band today for shortwave folks. So 41, 31, 25, 22, and the 19-meter band daytime shortwave. Nighttime shortwave noise floors S0 to S1 today, S1, and then climbing as high as S3 through Friday, and that most likely S3 will be on Friday. Shortwave bands open during the evening 120, 90, 75, 60, 49, 41, 31, 25, 22. And the 19-meter band open in the southern hemisphere. This is 90 minutes after sunset in the south. I think you get 2 hours out of it. And I think the northern hemisphere still gets 30 to 60 minutes of 19 meters after dark. Some good conditions for you to work your amateur or shortwave radios today. Sorry I'm so late with everything. It's been so many appointments for my family to help them out. I'll be back with a full ham radio live show as soon as I can get it all together in the computer. Enjoy your radio. It's a wonderful day for solar weather to work your amateur or shortwave radio. My name's Larry. My call sign's Kilo 7 Hotel November. Thanks for watching this weather segment. God bless you and goodbye, everybody.